Well, I must admit, chapter 13 was quite lengthy, but there's a lot of information that needed to go out, and I hope it was a blessing to you. So now we're going to start in chapter 14. The theme is the angel soars and magnificent Babylon falls.
Revelation 14. And I looked, and lo, a Lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written in their foreheads.
Now again, if you remember, they were given that mark in chapter 7, okay? Now we're in chapter 14. So they've gone through all these things. See, God provided for the 144,000 during the tribulation period. 1/3 of the trees are destroyed. 1/3 of the seas turn to blood. 1/3 of all the ships are destroyed. 1/3 of the fresh water is polluted. 1/3 of the light of the sun and the moon are diminished, and multitudes will die. Demons are released and tormented people. God meets their needs, even though they are not part of a global system. God protected them from the Antichrist and the false prophet. Half of mankind will be dead at this point. Now here's my point. There is not one casualty of the 144,000. God will protect his children from his wrath. That's quite amazing. I mean, he didn't lose one, not one. He started in Revelation chapter 7, 144,000. Goes through all these things, and still he has 144,000.
And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers, harping with their harps. And they sung, as it were, a new song before the throne, and before the four beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth.
You see, songs are usually birthed out of an experience. The 144,000 Jews will be able to sing a song that no one else can sing. They'll talk about how God protected them through all these different things that were going on. You know, and that's going to be a great song for them.
These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the firstfruits unto God and to the Lamb.
Again, when we talked about Revelation chapter 7, we talked about people who will knock on your door and tell you that they're a part of the 144,000. Well, first of all, let's look at these three things. One, there are men that have not been defiled by women. So if a woman knocks on your door and tells you that they are a part of the 144,000, then they're not true. They were totally obedient to Christ. They were the first redeemed by God during the tribulation period. And so not only that, but they were 144,000 Jews. So if someone says, I'm one of the 144,000, ask them what tribe they're from.
And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God.
Now we're moving into a portion of Revelation chapter 14 where angels are flying everywhere. Let's look at the first angel.
And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people.
You see, the first angel preaches the gospel. Because of God's mercy to everyone, he sends an angel to proclaim the gospel to the entire world, and they're without excuse. Now you have to understand, those who've been saved, they've been killed. Preachers who were preaching the gospel were killed. The 144,000 are no longer here. So God says, if there's nobody else to preach, I'm going to let an angel preach. This is the first time in history that an angel will preach the gospel. But I've said this many times in these broadcasts, and that is that the tribulation period is not God going, oh, I'm going to get those guys, I'm going to show them, I'm going to break him up. No. It's just like MMA. When you're in a position where you could be harmed or you could be hurt or paralyzed or something, and you know you can't get out, you tap out. If you watch World Wrestling and they get in a position and they're hurting, they tap out. What God is saying, when will you tap out? All these plagues have come upon these people. All these things have happened to them. And all these things, God is saying, listen, all you got to do is surrender to me and it all stops. But they won't do it. They're without excuse. See, God's judgments are his acts of mercy to bring man to repentance.
Saying with a loud voice,
Fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come. And worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters.
You see, God will prove he is the creator of everything. The angel, I've never seen an angel, I don't think. But there will be an angel who will proclaim all these things that God made heaven and earth, and you should worship him. So God will prove that he has created everything and he can destroy it as well. Evolution is proven to be a lie. Then will the Creator be worshiped. Again, we've talked about education. They're so bent on convincing people there is no God. They teach evolution as a fact instead of a theory. Then you have the angel number 2, who declares the fall of Babylon.
and there followed another angel, saying,
Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
You see, Babylon has been called the city of Satan. It was the beginning of rebellion against God. They built this tower, some believe, after the flood, so that if God wanted to destroy the world again, they would escape it, basically. It was built with the idea that man can survive God's wrath. The tower would protect them from another flood. It was the origin of demonism. It was the birthplace of astrology and false doctrine. They worshiped the heavens. And it was the foundation of unity against God, and God confused their language. Now we see another angel. The third angel condemns those who have the mark of the beast, Revelation 14:9.
And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice,
If any man worship the beast in his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever. And they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast in his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name.
I can't fathom how a church would tell its people there is no hell. And God is not going to punish people. It's very clear in Revelation chapter 14, verses 10 and 11, that there's a place of fire. And it's a place at 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And yet ministers will get up and say, oh, they're just trying to scare you. Well, if I'm wrong about that place called the lake of fire, then you're all right. You'll just die and cease to exist. But if I'm right, it's not going to be very good. That decision will be an eternal decision. How many decisions have you made that you wish you could take back? This one you will never be able to take back.
Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus.
And I heard the voice from heaven saying unto me,
Write, Blessed are the dead, which die in the Lord from henceforth. Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them.
When I thought about that, their works do follow them, those who have died for Christ and have died in Christ, I think about Oral Roberts, who started Oral Roberts University, how many people that he's turned out that still realize that it started by him. I think about Jerry Falwell, who started Liberty University, and they've graduated over 500,000 people from that institution. And it was because of a vision of that man. Being dead yet speaketh. I think about Hudson Taylor, Adoniram Judson, all these great missionaries who their mission work even lasts today.
And I looked, and behold a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud,
Thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe.
And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle.
He came out of the altar. According to John Wolverd, these allusions seem to indicate that the angel is acting in response to the prayers of the saints for divine judgment on the wicked. Remember when the martyrs were saying, How long, O Lord? How long, O Lord, will this happen? How long before you take into your hands those who've done this to us? How long? That is the answer to their prayer. You see, God is long-suffering. The ancient Greek word for ripe has a negative sense, to become dry or withered. The idea is of something that is overripe. This means that God will judge the earth only when it is overripe for judgment. He doesn't rush to judgment.
And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God.
You know, there's a song that came from this particular verse. It's called the Battle Hymn of the Republic, which you never hear anymore. For those who've never heard it, it goes something like this. My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vineyards where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has loosed the faithful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on.
And the winepress was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the winepress, even unto the horse bridles, by the space of 1,600 furlongs.
So in this passage, we're talking about a battlefield that's flooded with blood 180 miles. And it's at this time that his garment is stained with the blood. Now, we'll read later on that he comes back with blood stains on his garment. This is where that happens. Well, we've gone through chapter 14. In our next session, we will talk about chapter 50.